Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Letron LTrain Brantley. Hope you're having a great day. I want to take this opportunity to discuss a topic. It's pretty much been a dead horse probably for the last 100 years, but it's about multi-instrumentalization, basically being able to play more than one instrument at a time. I remember there was an article I read in Downbeat magazine. It was an interview of Phil Woods, the great legendary wind player, alto saxophone player who contributed a lot to the jazz repertoire. But in the article, the interviewer was asking him what he thought about multi-instrumentalization or doubling, basically. That's kind of the term synonym that's used, doubling. And, because Phil Woods, he played the clarinet also. One thing that I got from that interview, the sentiment that I got from Phil, was that if you have a voice for the instrument, you should go after it. You should satisfy that voice. If you have something in you that's calling you to play that instrument, you should play it. And, if you don't worry about it. Now, there are many situations that may require being able to play different instruments, such as the traditional jazz orchestra. Depending on the repertoire being performed, you may have to, especially if you're in the sax section, you may have to play clarinet, you may have to play flute. In some rare cases, you may have to play oboe or something that's maybe not as traditional. But there could be some situations where it's a requirement. But in the general scheme of things, I agree with Phil when he said, if you have a voice for that instrument, you should play it. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean, I know a lot of musicians, especially jazz musicians, playing piano, even especially for myself, it's more of a functional thing. I can play a few songs, jazz standards and things of that sort, but typically don't go out and play a gig on piano. I may be able to fumble through a gig, but I don't consider that a main instrument of mine. I also play bass guitar. More of my bass guitar playing is played in church. But why did I learn bass guitar? I learned bass guitar only because when I write music, I'm a backwards thinker. When I write music, I think bass first. A lot of people think melody first, or some people think lyrics first. But me, every time I've written a tune, I've always thought bass. And so I had a natural gravitation to learning to play the bass guitar. And I got pretty good. I would basically classify myself as a intermediate player, in bass. I also play saxophone. Saxophone I consider is my primary instrument. I've been playing saxophone for over 35 years. That's where I do most of my gigging. But another instrument that I play, I've probably been playing about 10 years seriously, is the flute. I'm in love with the sound of the flute, and I had to learn it. And every time I pick up the flute, and if you're a flute player, you know about having to go through that warm-up process. It's so important as a flute player to warm up, because you just can't pick up a flute and start playing, because it will shut you down. So you got to blow some air in it, you got to get it warm, and you got to start playing. But once I get it together and I get warmed up, man, I feel really, really, really good. And I love the sound that I get out of the flute. But the reason I started playing flute, started playing the bass, is because I had a voice for the instruments. And there's a lot of critics out there that think learning more than one instrument than your primary instrument is like a waste of time. But I don't think so. I think if you have a voice for the instrument, go ahead and learn it. Make it part of your being. Use it to perform, to enhance your performance. If you need to use it for arranging and writing, do that. But don't get caught up in all the hype of anybody that's a critic tells you, what you should and shouldn't do. You should do what makes you feel comfortable, what drives you, what pushes you as a musician, and also what gives you that inner fulfillment, gives you that joy of music and the fulfillment that it gives. So again, I just wanted to drop that to you. I'm a multi-instrumentalist. I love playing the instruments that I fell in love with. And, even with piano, even though I don't play it out, I do enjoy when I sit down to it from time to time to work out some things in terms of writing. So again, this is an issue that's been ongoing for many, many decades, and I'm sure it's going to be another 100,000 years people are going to talk about it. But, multi-instrumentalizing, if you feel the need to pick up another instrument, you have a voice for it, definitely do it. Sometimes in the case of piano or even guitar or harmony instrument, if you're a linear instrument like a horn player or something and you need something for harmony, it could be more of a functional thing where you pick up piano or guitar for harmony. But even in that, if you feel that that instrument is a voice for you, devote the time to it. because the reality, however, is that there's only so much time in the day. You know, you have to make sure that you put the energy into the instrument that is going to push you along further. But if you have a voice for the instrument and you feel it's a part of your career, of your entire being, go ahead and do it and enjoy it, and, you know, forget what anybody else says about multi-instrumentalizing or doubling. All right, that's my 2 cents. Hope you guys stay strong, enjoy the music, and have fun.